most sane prototype player.
Be like,
Hi everyone and happy April Fool's Day. I would like to wish you guys a wonderful and memorable time with your loved ones during this holiday.
Fuck you! You just got pranked!
Today we're gonna talk about a subject that some may consider to be a hot topic in the gaming community, which is violence in gaming. Why do I want to bring this up? So recently one of the viewers on my channel left a comment in relation to the subject. This person said, if there's gonna be a remake or reboot for Prototype, the main worry here is that they, which is Microsoft, would almost definitely tone down the more graphic and major elements of the game and story. The world is currently way too soft and censored to allow Prototype to exist with its original tone and nature. A very interesting take, right? What do you guys think? This comment also leads to the main question of the video. Is Prototype too violent and unsuitable for today's gaming? Well, if you've watched my videos and listened to the opinions I've had about this franchise, then you should already know my obvious answer for this question, which is an absolute resounding no. So, anyway, that's all I have for today. Thank you all for watching and I'll see you. Okay. To take this topic a bit more seriously, I have compiled the 3 main points of argument that some people may have in regard to this, and I'll proceed to address them all here. First is the visual aspect. As you all know, Prototype is a pretty gruesome game. You can kill your enemies in a lot of creative ways, like slicing them vertically or horizontally, squeezing their head, ripping them apart, you know, typical fun stuff. So you can kinda see the argument a lot of people have against this game is gonna be, Prototype is too gruesome and bloody, it will never be allowed in gaming today, or something like that. I guess these people believe in the idea that the gaming culture has changed significantly over the years, and most gamers have sort of stayed away from brutal games like Prototype, which is understandable. But here's the thing though, did you know there's another franchise that is way more brutal, beloved by millions, and still has new games being produced to this very day? If you can guess it, then congrats, its name is Mortal Kombat. When you compare the brutalness of these two franchises together, Prototype simply can't hold a candle to Mortal Kombat. I mean, just look at all the fatalities and you can definitely see why. And like I've said, this is not a forgotten franchise like Prototype. The latest title of Mortal Kombat just came out last year. Clearly there's still a massive audience who are in support of this stuff. So to say Prototype is too gruesome for today's gaming is simply not true in my opinion. And I would even argue that when Microsoft decides to remake these games, they should up the level of brutalness in order to make it more realistic and fun. For the second point, I call it the ethical argument. Now people will say, well, maybe the gruesomeness is not an issue, but what about the fact that you could kill random civilians without any repercussion? Isn't it a bit too messed up? Yes, it is a bit messed up, but here's my rebuttal for it. I played Prototype 1 and 2 many times before, and not once I remember having to play a mission where I need to kill or consume a single civilian in order to complete it, which means you can theoretically beat the whole game without murdering innocent people. And of course, you can use them as a quick source of protein if you want, but it's not as efficient as when you consume an infected. So in my case, I tend to ignore the civilians whenever I can. The game can give you the option to be a psychopath, but it doesn't mean you need to be one. Another good example of a game that also does this is Palworld. If you don't know, it's one of those Pokemon games where you can do the usual Pokemon things. Befriend with creatures, catch them, make them fight. But somewhere along the line, the devs decide to give you the option to enslave these creatures and make them do forced labor, which is fucking hilarious if you ask me. And the cool thing is, it's entirely optional too. You don't have to do these heinous acts if you don't want to. You can choose to be nice the entire time if that's your thing. And that's what I like about gaming, you know? The ability to do whatever the fuck you want. Whether it is good or bad, it doesn't really matter, as long as it's fun. If Palworld can exist today, so can Prototype. Alright, let's move on to the final point. Now that we're done with the gamer's side, we need to turn our attention to the other side as well. But which side do I refer to here? Yep, that side. If you guys have followed the gaming news recently, you know what I'm talking about. This whole Sweet Baby Inc. and Gamergate 2.0 debacle, you probably have heard about them for thousands of times by now. But before I proceed any further, can I first throw some shade at these creeps real quick? Because first of all, what kind of fucking retard would name your company Sweet Baby? That is the creepiest fucking name I've ever heard of a company thus far. Seriously, are the people who run this fucking cancer a bunch of pedophiles or some shit? I wouldn't be surprised if it actually turns out to be so. Not one fucking bit.
Fucking degenerate.
Second of all, I've never seen a company this fucking worthless since Denuvo. You know, the one who's behind that dog shit DRM that ruins the performance of every PC games out there and doesn't stop piracy for shit. In Denuvo's case, however, at least it doesn't interfere with the content of the game itself and we still get to experience it the way the devs have envisioned. But with these creeps, they actually think giving all the female characters man face and inserting shitty woke ideology in the story would somehow make the game better. What a bunch of fucking worthless idiots.
Absolutely useless.
Okay, rant's over. Let's concentrate back on the topic at hand. The point I'm trying to make here is that since Prototype is a fairly old franchise, maybe there are parts in the game that might be deemed problematic by these DEI companies, and the devs are forced to tone down or change them in the remake. So, is there anything problematic that needs to be addressed in Prototype 1 and 2? The quick answer is no, not really. Not in my book at least. The overall theme of Prototype is rather tame and there's nothing controversial enough in the story to worth mention. With the female stuff, barely anything is being sexualized, aside from the 2 ass shots that last less than 5 seconds. Big fucking deal.
So what's the big fucking deal? What the fuck are we doing out here? I ask you.
In the end, I can't really see anything in Prototype that deserves to be toned down or censored. The franchise is perfectly fine as it is. Although I'm sure those shitheads are gonna find something to complain about when the remake is out, I doubt anyone would care about them at that point. And yes, I'm very confident that a Prototype remake or some sort will come out in the near future, because just look at the Microsoft Activision Celebration video I covered from last year. Virtually every top comment of that video was about Prototype. Bring back Prototype, remake Prototype, please do Prototype 3. If Microsoft read these comments and still couldn't see the demand for a new Prototype game, then I have absolutely nothing to say anymore. Literally, all they have to do is remaking these games with rebalanced gameplay and some newly added cutscenes to flesh out the story, and everyone will be all over that shit. Plus, if those scumbags at Sweet Baby Inc. or any kind of DEI company out there would deem these remakes to be problematic and demand them to be more inclusive for the modern audience, you punch them in the fucking throat! Now come to think of it, I guess Prototype did indeed incite some violence after all. Perhaps it's not a good idea for Microsoft to bring back this franchise, to be honest. I mean, it's April Fool's, guys. We are allowed to make this kind of jokes, so it's fine. Don't worry about it, guys. Okay, I think that's all I have for today. Like, for real this time. Thank you all for watching. Before I go though, I just want to tell you beforehand that the next video I make will be about an entire different franchise, as I have mentioned in one of my previous videos. For those who are curious, I'll give you a hint. It revolves around a spiky haired dude that likes to send people to the Shadow Realm, so look forward to that one if you know who that is. If not, then I'll see you guys here again in June when the next Xbox showcase takes place. Let's hope there's gonna be something worthwhile for us to discuss by then. What I like to imagine is for Microsoft to give us a short teaser where they show a person wearing a very familiar jacket with his back towards us, and when he slowly turns around, it will be none other than Alex Mercer. That would be fucking cool. Anyway, I'll stop the copium now. Once again, thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next one.